Hello and welcome back to Unleash the Goats, where we unleash ourselves upon the Star Wars franchise with reckless abandon, and nobody quite knows what we'll say next, least of all us. I'm Nat, she, her. Angela, say hi.
Hello, I'm Angela / Faye, she, her.
Sugar, say hi.
Hi, I'm Sugar, she, her.
Happy 2-year anniversary.
Oh my god, is it our 2-year anniversary?
I didn't realize that it had been 2 years. Yeah, Sugar put it in our notes.
Holy shit.
It's every September,
That's
y'all.
crazy.
I'm glad Sugar's keeping track of this, because I'm not.
Yeah.
This is what the timeline is for. I don't think you guys look at it very often, but I put everything
Well,
in
you
there.
do such a good job on it. Why would I ruin it?
I mean, it's in there. It's in there. That's how I know. But yeah, it's every September.
I go in there sometimes, but I forget which days are which.
Which
Yeah.
days are which?
Like, which episode is which date? I'm like, yeah, this is going to happen at some point. Like, for some reason, I thought this episode was happening, like, in 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
like we were going to do the Clone Wars episode in 3 months. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Things have shifted. I will say I go back and shift things every so often if I need to.
Oh.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it might have
feel
been
better.
somewhere else.
I love that. Well, happy anniversary. I can't believe it's been 2 years.
You know,
That's crazy.
that's a lot of months.
That's a lot of months. Thanks for coming with us, listeners. Welcome to our Fixing the Clone Wars episode. Spoilers for the Clone Wars TV show.
Spoilers for Clone Wars and, you know, the other
think
two
that's it.
trilogies that came before it.
Well, yeah.
Mostly Clone Wars.
Spoilers for Star Wars.
We
Spoilers
should
for
just
Star
open
Wars, but, you know.
every episode
With every
spoilers for
episode
Star
spoilers for
Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're specifically talking about the Clone Wars. Specifically, we're talking about the Clone Wars show from 2008. This is not going to be discussing the 2003 2D animated Clone Wars
I forgot
show.
about that one. Yeah.
Because we don't need to fix it, because it's already perfect.
It's fine.
Moving on.
Moving on. So, yeah, we have all seen either all of Clone Wars or bits and pieces of Clone Wars.
I have now seen bits and pieces of Clone Wars, everybody.
To be fair, you had already seen bits and pieces of Clone Wars. You just don't remember them.
I remember the episodes that I've seen for the most
remember some
part.
of
I
them.
did
most part.
finish The Duchess of Mandalore, and I was like, I've seen this final episode before. It didn't
Yeah.
mean anything to me because I hadn't seen the two leading up to it, and I was like, ew. I hate Satine so much more than I would have having just seen this last episode, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to Satine.
Do we have to?
Yeah,
Yes.
we do.
We have to fix it.
So we're just going to go through a couple of things that we felt Clone Wars was perhaps lacking in a little bit. It gets a lot of acclaim, and I think there's a lot of things Clone Wars did that have had a positive impact on Star Wars moving forward, but I do think that it sometimes is a little overrated. So we're just going to be looking at some of the things Clone Wars maybe didn't do as well, and our feelings on that, and things that we may have done or would do if we had the chance to do Clone Wars over. Under our direction. So we're starting with things like characterization and relationships, because I just think that that's the biggest, most obvious thing to hit on. Hey, would you like to tell us what you feel about Anakin in the Clone Wars?
Listen. Anakin, I have a lot of feelings about Anakin, obviously. He may be a little fascist nightmare, which he is. But he's a little fascist nightmare who's honest and open about his emotions all of the time. All of the time.
To who?
To Padme, do those emotions make sense? Is he honest about all of his emotions? No. But he's not good at hiding his emotions. Like,
Okay, that's different.
when he's having an emotion, it's there. It's written all over his face. He might not express his thoughts. He might not express his feelings. He might not process those emotions, but they are available for everyone to see consistently throughout Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, which is part of the reason that he's so very easily manipulated by Palpatine. Which is possible this is a trait that Palpatine has intentionally manipulated, but let's not get into that. However, in the Clone Wars, they're like, no, Anakin is stoic master. He is Tom Cruise. He is Mr. Action Hero. He is Jason Bourne. He is so cool in a crisis, and he doesn't express or feel emotions. He's just witty one-liners. And like, okay, yes, in a crisis, sure. All of the time? All of the time? All of the time. Always? No. Did you know how often Anakin cries in Clone Wars? The answer is none.
He doesn't cry.
No.
I don't
cries
think
so
Anakin
often in
cries
the
a lot.
movie.
He does.
Cries so often in the movie. So emotional.
Wow.
He expresses his emotions all of the time. They're
To
all
be
over
fair,
his face.
I'm not sure anyone cries in Clone Wars, mostly because I'm not sure they were capable of animating crying. But you can see them get near it, and like I think they get near it where you
People
see
get
them,
teary. People get like upset and teary.
they get upset, but I don't know if we actually see tears come down anyone's face.
Right, but like, you know, we see like, oh, okay, okay, spoilers. When Satine dies, like, Obi-Wan gets like clearly very emotional and gets like
Yeah,
clearly
he gets
teary.
emotional upset. And that's mostly comes across in his voice. It's very like Broadway style crying where you have to pick it up from the way they sound and not
Yes.
anything happening on their face.
These are not things that happens to Anakin. Anakin gets angry a lot, which I'm not opposed to. I'm fine with him getting angry a lot. But that seems to be the only emotion that he is capable of expressing, which is frustrating because I feel like Anakin in the movies expresses all of his emotions, even though they're not good, even though he's not like good at them. He still expresses them all the time. So it really, really, really frustrates me that they boil him down to he is angry and he is witty. And like that is, I understand it's a children's show. However, that's not really his character.
To be fair, the films were also made for children.
Yes, exactly. The films are also made for children. You can have complex characters in a children's show. It's not impossible. And they don't like doing that. And I get very frustrated when I see people be like, oh, the Clone Wars really fixed Anakin's character. No, it didn't. It did not fix his character. It made you like him more because you think he's better now that he doesn't have emotions. And that's not fixing his character. That's making him more palatable to an obnoxious male audience who thinks that guys shouldn't cry. That's not the same thing. And that's very annoying.
It is very annoying. I do think that even the witty one-liners are not very in character for Anakin. Anakin is, like, in the films, he's very awkward in a lot of the stuff that he tries. Like, you can see him attempting one-liners. He's better at it, I think, in Revenge of the Sith. He's got a couple of things he says to Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith during the Invisible Hand sequence. But it's not really his, like, go-to thing.
Forte.
Yeah, like, it's, like, the witty one-liners are very much more Obi-Wan's thing than they are Anakin's. Like, Anakin 100%. Is canonically just kind of weird and awkward about everything.
And, like, if they had intentionally gone in and been like, okay, here's how we're going to develop him into Revenge of the Sith, where he's really good at one-liners, and given him, like, a few in the beginning and, like, kind of built it up till he's, like, actually good at them by the end, that would have been one thing. They don't do that because this show doesn't do growth. They don't do character arcs. They just do characters.
Yes, and that is a structural issue that we will hit a little bit later. But yeah, I think I agree. There's not a lot of fear to Anakin. There is a lot of anger. And yeah, I think they made him likable by making him simpler. Anakin in the films, I think, pushes against what you expect out of an action hero. Because he's built as someone who should be your stereotypical action hero, but then doesn't act like it. He's a whiny teenager, or he's, you know, the tragic hero later on in Revenge of the Sith. And even in Revenge of the Sith, he's very kind of, like, all over the place emotionally. And I think that was difficult for people to accept, that this was sort of what he was doing. I think he was doing a little bit of a reversal of what you might expect out of an action hero, and a reversal of what I think people expected a young Darth Vader would be. I think they were expecting more of what we get in Clone Wars, where he is more consistently violent, angry, upset, you know, or cool and collected.
Also a little bit of, like, not quite what you would expect from the Phantom Menace, because in Phantom Menace he's a very sweet young boy, and to have him develop into this, like, whiny teenager who mostly expresses his fear and anger, I mean other things too, but, like, those are, like, mostly what he's, like, going through in this movie, is quite different, because it shows you how, like, someone so sweet and, like, kind genuinely as a child can, like, grow into someone who, like, has developed more of his negative traits than his positive traits. Obviously he still has those kind traits there, but he has not worked on them. He has not grown them the way that he has his self-expression of his fear and his anger. Those are his hot buttons that he's pushing all the time. His kind button is, like, not being used.
I think the thing, too, is that Anakin, like, the most interesting thing about Anakin, one of the things that I think Phantom Menace actually did relatively well, was showcasing how some of his positive things, it's not like he just has some positive traits and some negative traits, and, like, then you just get, you know, one more than the other. I think those positive traits start to get twisted, right?
Yeah.
right? Where I think there's an element of that you start to see in Phantom Menace, where like, you know, his desire to help people is great. It's wonderful when he's 9 years old and he's cute, but then like his desire to help people kind of shifts a little bit too into what we see happen with Shmi, right? Where it's like his desire to help her is making him willing to abandon someone else, you know. And I just think that there's an element of his positive traits that Palpatine likely helps kind of twist into negative ones, and you can see how the things that are helping him at the beginning are not so great later. And I actually really like that, and I don't know that that's something that I think Attack of the Clones did as well, where you can see like the things that are positive about him are like the things that are also causing him problems or will cause problems later. And I just think there's not as much complexity to it.
I think his desire to help people also turns into like he decides what will help those people.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole like, oh, a dictatorship would actually be better because then you people would like know what you need.
You
Turns out to be super controlling.
Then if I see a need, I can just snap my fingers and it's done.
Right, and like with Padme, he's like, oh, but I know exactly what you should be doing because I care about you. And then you end up with Padme not, listen, here's the thing. You either see the red flags or you don't, and when you see them and acknowledge them, I need that to be a bigger deal. Like, what do you mean you just moved past it? What do you mean you're like, oh, we're gonna break up, and then you don't? Like, what the fuck? Please give me an in-between.
For context, Nat has just seen the Rush Clovis 2.0 arc from season 6 in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Just Padme's especially frustrating because they act like she's super competent and super good at her job. Mm-hmm. And they act like she's right all of the time. Similar to they do with Ahsoka. But then her actions don't follow up with that a lot. Like, there's the thing, or what is it, season 3, I think, where she trades Anakin for Grievous. So she trades Grievous for Anakin.
I think that might be season 4, but yeah.
Season 4, yeah, which is strategically not the right move here. Like, that is not a competition. She doesn't even send somebody in to try and rescue him first. Like, she just gives up Grievous for Anakin. Like,
no.
And it's supposed to be, and it's framed as like, oh, she's doing the right thing. She's choosing love, like all this stuff. She's choosing love over duty, blah, 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 blah. But like, if she's supposed to be politically minded and like the smarter of the two of them, and then she does stupid shit like that, sure, okay, that's fine, because like her character is in love with Anakin and is ignoring all of his red flags. That's fine, but you can't act like she's the most competent person in the room when she's making stupid decisions. You have to acknowledge the fact that she's wrong.
You also can't, like, if you're showing her choosing love over duty, I feel like that is not a part of Padme's characterization in the films. Like, I feel like the way that she chooses love is very, like, to the side. And she's pretending that she's not doing that.
Oh, I see. Where she's acting like she's not doing it, but she is doing that. But she's not acknowledging that she's doing that.
But she is doing that, but then you also then, again, sorry, not to bring up the Clovis arc again, but holy shit, y'all. Then, like, is constantly like, no, this is my duty to Anakin. And is choosing that over him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think she does choose love over duty in the films, because she makes it very clear that she understands they're not supposed to be doing this. And does it anyway. So I think she understands that she's going against the rules.
Yes.
Like, she's making the choice to say, like, I can have both.
Yes. But I think that is, like, choosing it... I wouldn't say that's over duty, right? Because it's not... What she's not doing, and what Anakin is not doing, is saying, we want to be together, and so we're going to abandon our duty entirely. Like, she is still a senator, and still, like, doing her job. That's not her number one priority, but I don't think she's prioritized her marriage as number one either. Like, I don't think she's entirely thrown out her duty.
She hasn't, but I don't think you have to say that she would throw it out in order to say she's chosen it over her duty. Like, I think by marrying at all, she's chosen love over her duty, because her duty is telling her not to do this. Like, point blank, straight up, there is no nuance to that. The rules say she can't do it, and she does it anyway. And so that is choosing it over.
I could see that.
I think the thing about her is that she that she believes that she would choose duty over love, and she never does. She always chooses love over duty, but she believes that she wouldn't do that. I think that's like the inconsistency of her character that we see so much.
The weird thing about Padme, too, is that she always holds off for a minute and then gives in, right? Because like that's the whole point of Attack of the Clones, is that she's holding off for a while. She says no like 3 times, right up until she doesn't. You know, and the same thing you can see in the Clovis arc from season 6, where she's saying, like, I need to take a break. This isn't okay. I don't like this. And then at the end, she turns around and comes back to him anyway. And that's a constant refrain with Padme. There is also an episode that I believe Nat hasn't seen yet from, I believe it's season 1, where Anakin is coming in and saying, like, you know, just kind of pestering her a little bit, trying to get her attention. She's like, Anakin, I've got important things to do. I can't pay attention to you right now.
And he's like, but I'm ignoring therapy for you.
Yeah. He's like, but that, like, I thought we agreed that our ideals were less important than our feelings for each other. You know, and then he, like, hands her his lightsaber.
Jesus Christ, Anakin.
That's the fucking Cad Bane episode where, like, he doesn't have his lightsaber, so therefore he's incapable of fighting this guy. And it's the stupidest thing in the world. It's so annoying.
Oh my god.
Like, oh, I don't have my lightsaber. All of a sudden, this, like, bald fucking bounty hunter is, like, better than me at everything. Like, you still have your arms.
To be fair, I think there's multiple bounty hunters involved, but yes.
That's not the point. Push them all together with the Force and roll them into a ball and throw them out the window, okay? Like, you have so many other things going for you that you don't need a lightsaber. Oh my god.
Yeah, Clone Wars does regularly forget that Force users can use the Force, and we'll get into that a little bit with the world building. But yes, it is a constant thing that happens in Clone Wars, that they forget that Force users can use the Force as a problem solver, because otherwise your stories would often have, like, no point, because the obvious answer is use the Force.
They'd have to put more work into writing their story. They would have to actually write a plot. Yeah.
Chuck.
But, all right, let's move on from Anakin. We've talked a lot about Anakin. Since we've mentioned Satine, let's talk about Obi-Wan. How much fun is Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars? I'll hit on this one just because I have strong opinions on Satine, but I think we all have strong opinions on Satine. I think Obi-Wan is generally fine, but I take a lot of issue with the way he's represented within the relationship to Satine. I think the ending is fine. Faye mentioned it, that he's very upset about it, but that he ultimately is able to kind of pull himself through and be like, I'm not going to turn to the dark side just because you've killed someone I loved. I think that's fine. It's the beginning that sucks. The beginning where he's, like, wildly unprofessional all of the time, like, to the point of being mean-spirited and almost unkind to Satine, to regardless of his personal relationship with Satine. Satine is a planetary leader. She is a political leader of her people. Obi-Wan has a duty to be professional, if nothing else, and pissing her off like this is just stupid. And, like, it also gets to the point where he's actively sexist, which I've had a lot of people push back on me about. But, like, I personally don't think that they would have used the word hysterical when Obi-Wan is trying to convince Satine out of speaking to the Senate the way she is and remaining neutral. If they weren't intentionally trying to get that vibe, but just feel like the word hysterical and hysteria is too loaded in this particular context to not be intentional, which means that they are intentionally putting Obi-Wan slightly into the sexist lane just to create conflict between them. And it feels wildly out of character for Obi-Wan. And I like, it feels like it's done intentionally to create a parallel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Anakin and Padme's relationship with Obi-Wan and Satine's relationship. And I just don't feel like it works. I think there were better ways to make that parallel than what they've chosen to do. I think it's based on a lot of really kind of bland early 2000s rom-com tropes, and it just kind of sucks. Like, there's not a lot of actual chemistry there. I think they're hoping that the arguing is supposed to stand in for, unrequited sexual tension, and I just don't feel that, personally. So that's where I feel like they do Obi-Wan very dirty, but I think he's generally fine.
It is frustrating, though, because the Satine stuff is kind of the only... Not the only, but, like, some of the only, like, really personal stuff we get that's Obi-Wan focused. Obi-Wan's usually like more of like a side or a background character for the other characters' stuff going on, and like which is fine because like he's pretty consistent, he's pretty fine, he's pretty normal. Like they do a good job writing him. He doesn't get any character growth, but like he's pretty like normal. You can usually just you get what you expect. And then the only stuff we really get about Obi-Wan specifically, so if you're an Obi-Wan girly, the only stuff you get is Satine. And the Satine stuff sucks. Like, he's inconsistent in that one. He's suddenly, like, super rude, super mean, super obnoxious, like, not listening to her and, like, treating her like shit. And, like, honestly, okay, I understand that this is a fantasy world, so I'm not going to get too into it. But I genuinely, if this was a situation where he's like, oh, shit, I have to go talk to my ex, who we have bad feelings for each other, I should tell the council that I shouldn't go on this mission because she doesn't like me. And we should have someone else do this who she's not going to antagonize.
Does he know that she doesn't like him? They haven't spoken in 20 years, mostly just because he left. It seems to have been a mostly amicable parting.
Yeah, but after that first episode of that arc...
Well, yeah, sure, but
he can step out at any time.
For a while.
That's true. But when they're back on Coruscant, that's when it kind of blows up.
The fact that they have a romantic history and they need to have a professional relationship is, and if there is anybody else available, he probably should have been like, this probably isn't the mission for me, y'all. Like, I'm too personally involved in this. I understand that we need the plot to happen.
Maybe, but you could be like, okay, we have to send someone to basically ask this Duchess whether she's potentially fucking with the Republic or not and siding against us in this war, because that's why he goes initially. Is to be like, hey, a Mandalorian just attacked one of our supply ships out of fucking nowhere. Like, are you or are you not siding in the war against the Republic? Because that's a problem. And so sending Obi-Wan at that point is like, this is a very delicate personal situation. And, like, yes, you have some delicate personal bullshit happening with Obi-Wan as a teen, but also by sending someone she knows and is familiar with and had a positive relationship with, that could be seen as, like, the safer option to take here to kind of try and soften the blow of having to ask her what they're asking her. I don't know that it goes well.
The fact that Obi-Wan doesn't be like, hey, we were drafted, actually. None of us wanted to fight this war. This war is not good for anybody. We would like it to be over as soon as possible. Why are you acting like we're the warmongers here when we were attacked? Literally, we were attacked. I was about to be executed.
I got captured.
I was literally captured.
To a pole.
I was gonna be murdered by these people. Why are you acting like we're the aggressors when they literally tried to kill me? And that's what started this war, was them trying to murder me. Straight up executing me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole thing. I'm sorry, did you want me to die instead? Like, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So stupid. Yeah. So he just has no defense for it, and they act like she's winning a point here with her statement. It's like, she's not. She's wrong. She's straight up incorrect.
She's
wrong about so much.
All of his ability to do anything, to argue anything on his side, and that is a little bit frustrating, and it does feel just like straight up bad writing just to make her seem smarter.
I want to take us back to the hysteria on that point, because the way that I interpret, having just watched this arc, the way that felt to me is that the conversation that they're having, where they've just put up this video of like an assistant to the prime minister or something, someone that she knows, and they're like, and he's saying that the Republic needs to occupy your planet, and now he's dead, and like the Senate is like, well, shit, we better go occupy them to make sure that Death Watch doesn't, like, take over. The conversation that they have, he's like, you shouldn't be making any decisions in this state of mind. Any person would be hysterical right now, and then she goes off on him, which is totally fair. To me, that felt like he was going to say, hey, you personally are keeping it together really well right now, but I think you should take a beat and process your emotions. Even though you're keeping it together, like, this is a really big thing. I don't get the vibe that he was literally calling her hysterical. However, he's way more eloquent than he is when he's talking to Satine at any point. Like, Obi-Wan is just, like, a pretty good speaker.
And also, she's right. Like, you know.
She's totally right to be pissed at him. Like,
I think she's right to be pissed at the Republic. And just for the...
really aggressive with her.
He is very aggressive.
Like, he goes up to her and, like, grabs her, and Obi-Wan is like, not I feel like Obi-Wan is the kind of person that's like, I'm gonna let this person walk it off and deal with it themselves. I don't think that he's like the kind of character who would get himself involved and be like, I know how you should be processing this, but they make him do that. And I'm like, who are you?
To be fair, I think he does it, but he does it with Anakin, very specifically. And this is the thing that he does with Anakin.
I wish he did it with Anakin more. He doesn't push Anakin on a lot of stuff that he maybe should have. Because he's respectful of Anakin's boundaries.
He is respectful of Anakin's boundaries, but I think what's interesting is you do see him push Anakin more than once in Attack of the Clones, but he does it
That's true.
carefully. And also,
That's
he's
a good
in
point.
a position where this is his job, just to push Anakin
Literally
a little
his
bit.
job is
You
to
know?
push his book his buttons and be like, hey, like, let's see where you're
Yeah.
at. Like,
But he is
literally,
so
I'm
careful about
parenting
it.
you right now.
Like, the elevator scene is such a perfect example of how to address someone who's, like, clearly, like, you know, anxious and not in a great state of mind, and he, like, finds a way to kind of calm Anakin down first before jumping into the, like, okay, I can sense you're nervous. Like, you want to talk about it? And then he actually does. Like, Anakin does actually open up a little bit about how he's nervous to see Padme again after 10 years. And then he obviously pushes again about the dreams later, and that goes a little bit less well. But he's very gentle about it. He is very careful about it, but he does push Anakin more than once. And it's interesting to see him put into the situation with Satine, where he's constantly pushing her all the time, but he's doing it cruelly, unkindly, insensitively, almost aggressive and violent, like he said sometimes. It's weird. And it's just like,
It's very weird.
Like, I don't think it's against character for him to push a little bit here, but I do think it's against character for him to push the way he does, and to be as insensitive and unkind about it as he is. And I think that that's where they're like, oh, this is the romance. This is the rom-com tropes coming in and making it uncomfortable and weird and annoying.
You
he
know,
just
I
simply
hope
didn't
that
have to
whoever
do that.
wrote that dialogue had a very good divorce.
Good divorce.
Yes, I know, right? George
Oh
Lucas
my
did.
god. Anyway, should we talk about Ahsoka?
I think that sorry, really quick, I think Maria Lucas
Yeah.
should have gotten Star Wars in the divorce.
You know?
That's very funny.
I'm just
All right,
saying.
let's get to Ahsoka. So Ahsoka's the one character where we can't compare her to a prior iteration, right? There is no Ahsoka before the Clone Wars. So she gets to be whatever they wanted her to be. And so that makes her
she
a little bit
is whatever they
interesting.
want her to be. Her character arc is what?
It's a little wild, and continues to be a lot wild. I think
In
her
fairness,
character arc.
she has a character arc, unlike some other characters. She actually does have one. It's a bad one, but she does have one.
I think her character arc in the first couple seasons is fine. I think it's
Yeah.
where she's
I mean, like,
got the
overall.
bratty. Yeah, I mean, I think it's when you hit, like, the first 2.5 seasons or so are actually fine. They're great. Like, she's a young-ish adult character, right, who's a little bit bratty, a little bit overconfident. You see her kind of trying to gain Anakin's trust as her teacher. You see the two of them actually working, like, against each other, and starting to learn from each other a little bit, even. You know, this is where, like, you get the best Anakin stuff, honestly, is in his interactions with Ahsoka when she's being more bratty. And the ways that he is forced to then react to it. But then you hit about season 4 or so, and Ahsoka just kind of flattens. And she's just plain badass, does everything kind of easily, makes very few mistakes. She doesn't get as much attention post season 4. Like, she gets the Gathering arc, and then she gets the wrong Jedi, and that's about it. Or Onderon. Like, Onderon is probably the next time she gets a lot of attention, but she kind of has gone off the rails since then. But I think the very beginning of her was actually, like, her best version.
The episode where she's kidnapped with the other Jedi children is one of my favorite arcs of her, period. Like, it's such a good episode. She's written so well. Like, she's not, like, crazy hyper competent, but she is competent. Like, she has good leadership skills, but she still, like, gets, like, nervous and freaked out. Like, she, like, processes. It's such a well-written episode. I genuinely love that
and
episode.
needs help.
Yes, she needs help, and she reaches out for help.
More than once, yeah. She gets the other kids, but then she also gets, spoiler alert, she gets Chewie.
Yes, which is great. It's really well
And
done.
even
It's super
Chewie
fun.
also has to reach out for help. They would all have died if the signal hadn't gone out to the other Wookiees and they showed up at the end. So, you know, yeah, she's not wildly hyper competent, but she is competent enough to where you believe that she can get out of the situation. with the skills that she has. It is a good arc. And I think the flip side to that, too, is that it actually is not terrible for Anakin, because this is where Anakin, he can't do anything. Anakin's completely separated from her. They have no idea where she's gone. And he's just sitting there, like, flipping out over this. And it's, I think, Plo Koon who comes in and has to be like, you know, you have to believe that the training you've given her is going to be enough for her to be able to get back to you, you know. And so that's really all you can do right now. With no other leads to go on, all you can do is hope and accept that you've done the best you can to give her the skills she needs to survive.
The early episodes where they let, like, Anakin have other Jedi friends was so fun. It was so great. I really enjoyed seeing him interact with other Jedi and have them be, like, friendly. It was great. It was lovely.
But, yeah, so I think Ahsoka had some interesting stuff, but by the time we make it to the Wrong Jedi arc, things have gone completely off the rails in so many ways. I know so many people love the Wrong Jedi arc, and we're probably going to get a lot of heat for none of us loving the Wrong Jedi arc.
Fuck the Wrong Jedi arc.
Fuck the Wrong Jedi arc. But I personally feel like it's one of the worst written arcs in the entire show.
I need to let the dog out really quick. Sorry, 1 second.
Have fun.
We can always just keep talking about it.
That's true. What else do you have to say about the Wrong Jedi arc?
Let's see. I think it's out of character for Ahsoka. Just aside from the fact that this is the first time, you know, she's been introduced in anything is in Clone Wars, she somehow still managed to be out of character.
I can't, like...
Matt is speechless in
I just
outrage.
genuinely, I don't even know where to fucking start with this, because I don't know Ahsoka, right? Like, I haven't watched a lot of the Clone Wars. The Wrong Jedi arc was actually the first one that I watched.
Oh,
as I was watching, like, bits and pieces here and there, and it was terrible. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. None of it makes sense. I don't understand what they're going
such a contrived plot, which is saying a lot in
It's
Star
so
Wars, and
weird.
especially in the Clone Wars.
Like, she's extremely stupid the whole time. She keeps making the wrong decision. Barriss betrays everyone, and I'm like, should I know who this girl is? And apparently no. Apparently that's not built up at all.
No.
Well, you are
She
supposed
just,
to know
like-
who she is, but
Well,
the fact that
right.
she's turned against Ahsoka isn't built up.
I've seen an episode with Barriss where she and Ahsoka get trapped, like, under something.
Yes.
Yeah, they get trapped in the cave.
And they're, like, separated from their masters, and they're very young, and they have to, like, figure that out. So I'm like, okay, I can see how they're, like, maybe friends. But she's, like, we don't see a lot of build-up to Barriss's betrayal. It's pretty obvious that she's the person to suspect. And then we just kind of move on from her complaints about how the Jedi are, like, overstepping. And I feel like the Jedi would maybe take that more seriously than they do. Anyway, why does Ahsoka need to work with Ventress? Like, could she not have found the payphone on her own? What is the deal with that? And then she just leaves at the end.
Yeah, Ventress just kind of fucks off eventually.
Ventress fucks off, but also, like, Ahsoka just fucks off.
Oh, if it makes you feel better, there are 3 episodes in Tales of the Jedi about Barriss and how she joins the... What are they called? Sugar. She joins the Inquisitors and then leaves the Inquisitors and becomes a good Jedi again.
That actually doesn't make me feel better, but thank you.
That one was actually my favorite of all of them. It's just not,
Is that a
not
low
a
bar?
high bar.
Yeah.
It's a low bar. But that one's actually, like, not offensive.
It doesn't really deal with anything. Like, none of it actually addresses the Wrong Jedi arc, and what she's done is the problem. So, like, she leaves the Inquisitors after, like, 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden they skip ahead, like, 20 years, and she's now this, like, old shaman living in the mountains, and you're like, cool. Like,
And I guess she understands the Force now and, like, whatever.
yeah, there's just, like, no real understanding of anything. Like, there's no exploration of her character.
Also the Islamophobia.
Oh, yeah. Also,
Like-
the Islamophobia.
And- yeah.
Yeah.
And
Also
yeah,
that.
like,
Having the woman who wears a hijab be the one who blows up the temple is a choice that they made
choice.
in 2010, whenever this was. That was...
Yeah, presumably,
choice.
let's see, we've been 2013, but
It's impossible to know, actually. We can't fact check that, so.
No.
Somewhere around
Anyway.
2012 to 2013.
Other characters that we have are also the clones, who are so great. They're clones themselves, like, get a lot of characterization, but it's all, like, sprinkled throughout, so you don't get a lot of, like, consistent stuff going on, which is really frustrating, because you'll really enjoy a character, and they won't show up again for, like, 3 seasons, if you're lucky. They might never be heard from again. Like, Dogma is there for, like, 3 episodes, and we never hear what happens to him ever again. Presumably, he's murdered. Like, who knows?
Presumably executed?
He could have been executed, could have been put in prison.
Shoots a Jedi?
Yeah, he shoots Ponkrell.
I've seen that one. Okay.
You have seen that one. Like, there's... So
I get so excited about it. I'm like, oh my god, I know what you're talking about.
You do, yeah.
It's nice that we get, like, actual developed characters, which is fun, because a lot of them are, like, introduced and, like, built up pretty well, and, like, we get to, like, know them as, like, individuals, which is cool. But then the fact that we don't get to know any more of them is annoying.
It's called the Clone Wars. You would think that it would be mainly
Clone Wars.
focused on the clones.
You would
and what's interesting is that the one thing that the Clone Wars actually, like, really genuinely changed about the status quo did have to do with the clones, because it's the introduction of the biochip. That completely shifts your understanding of the clones, why they do the things they do, and the relationship that they have with the Jedi. Because prior to this, the only 2 explanations that existed were the Jedi sucked so hard that the clones just didn't care about killing them all, or the clones just aren't fully sentient enough to be capable of caring who they're killing. And so the friendliness that we see between Cody and Obi-Wan is, like, D&D for Cody at most, because he just isn't capable, like, he's too in between sentient and non-sentient to be able to, like, you know, have anything deeper. And so when he's ordered to turn against Obi-Wan,
there was also a thing where they just have to obey all orders. Like, they're sentient, but, like, they're also just coded to always obey orders. They don't really have free will. That was also, like, a thing that people, like, threw around.
Maybe.
Where, like, they were smarter than droids, but, like, they still just obeyed orders. They were kind of, like, they weren't, like, people, if that makes sense.
They're like sec units.
They didn't have... Yeah, so kind of like sec units.
Right. And so what the chip does is allow the clones to be people, to be really, like, genuine characters with agency and opinions and emotions and capable of growth and relationships without completely throwing the Jedi under the bus as a result. I do think the chip lore has gone a little bit wonky since it got introduced, but...
No, because then they were like, oh, well, we want to keep writing stories about the clones, but we don't want them to be, like, broken the way that we initially had them. So let's just pretend that the chip wears off after, like, a week.
What?
Yeah, and they have
really good
it's
willpower.
Not a week, it's more like a year, but...
What?
It's closer to a year. Yeah,
that's how the Bad Batch goes.
Okay.
The Bad Batch does definitely tell you that the chip does just start to wear off eventually. It's not complete, because it's, like, with the one character that we know obviously did get turned with Cody, he is questioning a lot of it, but it's unclear how much he's put together, because he just chose not to really explore Cody, and he hasn't come back yet from his sudden disappearance. But yeah, there is some wonkiness in Bad Batch regarding the chips and how that's impacted the clones afterwards. But yeah, they aren't explored quite as much as I think a lot of people would have liked. But, like, what's interesting is it's, like, the one real interesting thing the Clone Wars ever actually did was addressing the clones and really changing the clones. And I mean, you know, I don't want to fix that. Like, I like that part. I just wish we'd gotten more of them. All right, the last thing we're going to address with characterization is just Maul, because I think bringing him back is probably one of the biggest dumbasseries Star Wars has ever done until we got to the prequels.
I mean, it's sequels? Dumb. It's stupid. It's
the sequels,
annoying.
Yeah.
Okay. You said prequels and I was going to be offended.
Did I? No, sequels.
Yeah. Okay.
To me, it's less annoying than Force healing, which I know is my personal beef.
It is your personal beef.
They at least, like, do a lot of, like, out there stuff where they're like, oh, he has, like, spider legs, and you had to use crazy force magic to put his mind back. Like, they have to do, like, a whole bunch of shit. They're not like, oh, we snapped our fingers on his back. They, like, put him through a bunch of stuff to try and fix it.
The man, like, transported himself to a whole new planet while cut in half. like, with no explanation. Make it to Trash Planet.
They don't
That's
act
fine.
like it's supposed to make sense. They see the hole went down to the trash, and then the trash got
Picked up and taken to Trash Planet with
the
a...
Trash Planet. Yeah, that's what happened. But they don't act like it's supposed to make sense. You can tell every time it comes up. They're like, "Listen, we know it doesn't make sense. We just want to make a cool scene with Maul. Please just ignore the fact that this doesn't make sense." That's very much the vibe every time it happens, and that makes it acceptable to me because I feel like we're all in on this together.
I guess. I think for me, I'm like, you could have left the fucker out. You had the other Dathomiri Zabrak characters. Like, you had Savage and Farrell and all of the others who are there. Like, if you just wanted someone with that design, you could have just made more of them. And you did.
Ooh,
so why do we need him?
Savage, like, being, like, really similar to Maul instead, where instead of being, like, a dumb dude, he was just, like, actually, like, as smart and, like, wanting revenge on Obi-Wan for killing his brother. It would have been really fun, actually.
It would have been so easy. And also, Savage isn't even always smart. Like, Savage actually begins... When we first are introduced to him, he's actually really intelligent. He only becomes the kind of dumb brute character after he's, Night Sister magic juju'd up. So...
They could have had them be twins, and they just named him Mace, and have him... No, wait, you already have a Mace.
You can't name him Mace. Try again.
I thought you were going for that intentionally. I was like, what kind of fucking irony?
Sorry. Well, Maul and Mace.
I know, I get it.
I could see that. But we already have a Sabine and a Satine.
That's true.
We
could just spell it differently. We could spell it with an S.
And a
Maz.
Hondo and a Holdo.
Wait.
Anyways, they could have just done that and had like him be a twin, and then they would have been like the same. That'd be fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I found bringing Maul back to be unnecessary and stupid. It is my somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah.
So... And I will just leave it at that. I think it's stupid.
I think why I'm okay with it is that the vision, well, let's see, what George Lucas has shared about what he originally envisioned for the sequel series of, like, Maul's criminal empire is so much more interesting to me than what we actually got, and I would have liked to see that so much more. Even though I still would have had issues with it, it would have been more fun. And so, therefore, because of that, I'm giving it grace, because I'm like, at least I would have enjoyed some of it.
Yeah.
Because the bar is so low.
Bar is so low.
It's always low.
Ugh.
Speaking of low bars, let's talk about Force Ghosts.
God. Oh my god! You know what? You know how difficult it is to have, like, okay, here's what we already have established, and then here we're just gonna keep the rules the same because these are the rules that we have. You know how difficult that is? Not difficult. It's not difficult. It's really easy to just go, okay, here's how it works. Here, we're going to keep making it work like this. And now we're like, no, let's make up new stuff.
To be fair, I'm willing to be a lot more lenient about Force Ghost bullshit because I don't think Lucas did that either. It's like, you know...
I understand that. I get it.
Like, they introduced, when Obi-Wan does it for the first time, like, this, you know, like, this is a skill that Anakin could not possibly... do. Like, it's implied that Obi-Wan has acquired a new skill that Anakin can't do. And then you know who manages to do it without acquiring any new skills at the very end? Fucking Anakin. So, you know, there's already that. There's already that. And then you sneak into the prequels and Qui-Gon dies and you're like, how is Qui-Gon not ghosting right now? That's odd. But you're like, okay, maybe Qui-Gon didn't learn it somehow. Maybe this is a thing that Obi-Wan and Yoda figure out later. And a bunch of other Jedi die without ghosting. You're like, okay, this seems to be in line. And then guess what? Qui-Gon did fucking ghost. Whoops. And it turns into this whole new thing. So by the time you get to Clone Wars and they introduce the Force Priestess bullshit, it's kind of like, it's already wacky across the board.
Well, you have, like, some rules there, because they're like, okay, so Qui-Gon's the first one to learn this, that's why nobody else does it. Qui-Gon, like, figures it out as a dead person, and then he teaches Yoda and Obi-Wan. That's why they're the only ones who do it, and not everybody else does it. And, like, that's why Anakin doesn't know about it, even though he was a Jedi
who he
before.
doesn't teach? Anakin. And yet, who ghosts at the end?
Yeah, but it's implied that you can learn as a dead person, because Qui-Gon learned.
Yeah, although I think Clone Wars establishes that he'd been learning kind of secretly prior to his death. it's not something that he actually started learning post-death.
No. I'm saying in the movies, that's what he, like, uses to fix his plot hole of Anakin ghosting at the end, because he wanted that nice scene of, like, Luke looking at his dad, right? So, like, to fix that plot hole, he's like, okay, yeah, you can learn after you die, because that's how Qui-Gon's the one who originally learns it. And after he's dead, he teaches Obi-Wan and Yoda. That's why they do it immediately. And then Anakin gets to also learn it after he dies. Like, that's his way of fixing his plot hole. But then he does the Clone Wars and
makes it
ruins that. He breaks it again. He fixed it and then he broke it.
It's a wild thing, but at this point, the ghosts make very little sense. So it's like the ghosts just kind of show up and do whatever the fuck anyone wants them to do.
Oh yeah, because now they can just interact with physical objects and, like, blow up trees and shit. Which,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, fine. At this point, why do we even need the new Jedi? The old Jedi can just blow up Palpatine again. Why are they there?
Why are we here?
Yoda can blow up a tree, but he can't lightning his ass. Ugh.
Blah. So yeah, Force ghosts are stupid, and they continue to be stupid. We should not have gotten Force ghosts. This is Lucas's mistake.
I did like a lot of what we got about the Jedi themselves in the Clone Wars. I felt like we did get quite a bit of stuff about them that was really enjoyable for me. I wanted more. Like, there's so many places where I wanted to see more of the temple. I wanted to see more of the younglings. I wanted to see more of, like, other Jedi. Like, this is the Clone Wars. Like, I really would have enjoyed at least a couple episodes or stories about Jedi who were not Anakin and Obi-Wan. That would have been really fun for me. Like, this is the Clone Wars. It's a galactic war. Introduce me to some more Jedi. Give me some more stuff to see. Like, show me the galaxy. I think that would have been fun. I understand that they maybe didn't have the budget for that, but I think they should have given them the budget for that.
Yeah, the closest you get is the Gathering arc in season 5, which is nice, but a little bit wild. But yeah, I think I agree with you that much like the clones, I think this lands for me in, like, there's nothing overly offensive about it. At least within the first 6 seasons. I'm a little touchy about season 7's representations. But within the first 6 seasons, I think the Jedi are generally represented fine. There's just not much of them in there that's really explored in any kind of depth. And that just feels like a missed opportunity. I also think it's part of the structural problem, which we will get to soon. So I think one of the biggest misses here was actually the Separatists. I think this was also another thing to, like, you could have really explored who the Separatists are and why they're doing the things they're doing, and instead they just end up looking like the most incompetent batch of nincompoops the galaxy's ever seen. But they're, like, represented to me as I'm supposed to think they're not an incompetent bunch of nincompoops. And I think that that's kind of stupid. And so I'm like, I think
one of my issues here is that, like, I grew up on MASH, and if you guys haven't seen MASH, you should watch MASH. It's a great show. And MASH is set in the Korean War. It's a comedy show, so it's all very funny. It's a bunch of doctors in the Korean War. But it's airing at the same time as the Vietnam War. So it's a lot of, like, critique about war and, like, showing both sides. And at no point do they say in this show, hey, the other side is all good people. But what they do is consistently show that everybody's human on both sides, and there are innocent people being hurt on both sides who didn't ask for this and wanted no part of this and are involved anyways. And it is a comedy show. Again, it is a funny show. It isn't meant to make you laugh. They have a series of moments, but that is, like, the thing of the show. The show is not, like, a very serious war drama, right? They do that without being like, these people are 100% innocent and didn't want to do this at all. Like, they're completely naive and dumb. Like, that's not how they do it at all. And so, because that is a show that I've watched consistently enough to, like, understand that it's possible to do that, it frustrates me that when this show which is also doing a war and is pulling a lot of stuff from similar media like MASH, is somehow unable to be like, hey, there's good people on both sides, without being and then they say that the Separatists also have good points while they're blowing people up. They're not able to have any nuance to it. They're saying either the Separatists are 100% evil and we should kill them all, or they're saying the Separatists have great points and we should be listening to them more. they're really bad at nuance for the Separatists, which is really frustrating, because just because it's a funny show for kids doesn't mean you can't do that. And it's annoying that they think that they can just get away with that. And we're just supposed to eat it and accept it and be like, oh, this is as good as it gets. Because it's not. You're better than this, and you should have done a better job.
I think that there's an opportunity there, because they have the one heroes on both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is the name of the episode? Yeah, where Padme and Ahsoka go see like her friend, and Ahsoka meets the young man who's the same age as her, and then completely sets him up to hit on her. And then when he does, she's like, boys are all the same. Anyway, that's not why I bring up this episode. There's an opportunity there.
But it's part of why it stinks.
I mean, I think it's extremely funny, because that is something that, like, a young teenage girl would do. And that's funny to me, to be like, oh, I'm gonna say something to make you, like, hit on me, and then I'm gonna be really offended because how dare you? And, like, a young teenage girl does not recognize the issue with that. Anyway, at the end of the episode, it's very clear to the viewer that, like, Dooku was 100% in control, like, the whole time, and, like, the Senate, like, he is manipulating his Senate the way that Palpatine is manipulating the Republic Senate. And I think that is such an interesting parallel that you could have explored a ton. To be like, there are people on the Separatist side that think that they're doing the right thing and are being manipulated by this person in power. That's not that different from the Republic. But that's based on one episode. Apparently they don't do more of that, which is disappointing.
There isn't a single other instance of it, no.
That's so sad.
And even
it could have been
good. You do have, like, stuff, like, even in that episode, like, when they are straight up, like, when the Separatists are straight up shown proof that they are being manipulated, they still don't, like, understand or agree or listen or, like, have any interest in understanding. And, like, Ahsoka is somehow the one in the wrong for being like, hey, you guys are blowing up innocent people, and that's wrong, and that should stop happening. And somehow she's in the wrong and has learned a lesson by the end of the episode that, like, there's heroes on both sides, right? But, like, the other guy hasn't learned anything.
Yeah, she talks to Lux about it, and she's like, oh, this is what is happening in the war, and he's like, well, or I think she tries to give him her opinions on separatists. She's like, all I've seen of separatists are, like, nasty, awful people. And he's like, well, all you've seen are military commanders. And it's like, yeah, because she's in the military. She's comparing, like, herself and the other Jedi to her peers. And, like, these are the people running your fucking army. And they are out there committing war crimes, and you are just going like, well, but why aren't you comparing yourself to some random civilian? It's like, why would you? Why would you compare yourself to some random civilian? She's saying your army is out here committing war crimes. Maybe you should be worried about that. And it's contrasted, too, with Padme and, Mina Bonteri. Mina Bonteri just going like, Dooku's the fucking best. He's incredible. He's amazing. And she's like, oh, that's right. I forgot you actually liked Dooku. And she's just like, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. And I'm like, do you though? Because again, like, much like with Obi-Wan and Satine earlier, Padme can talk, like, very specifically about having been tied to a pole to die by Dooku. You know, like, this is a first
straight up by Dooku. By Dooku specifically. Specifically Dooku. And, like, if we're comparing, like, the situation of, like, Dooku manipulating the Senate versus, like, Palpatine manipulating the Senate, Padme doesn't like Palpatine at this point. She's straight up being critical of Palpatine at this point. And, like, is on the way to, like, trying to set up a bunch of people to, like, okay, I know this hasn't happened in the movie, but, like, she's on the way to, like, set up the delegation of 2000 to, like, ask him to step down. Like, straight up, that's what's happening. And her friend is still on the, oh no, Dooku's the best, and, like, licking his boots. Like, these are different situations where Padme is still being critical.
Yeah, despite eyewitness accounts that he's done horrendously awful things to her friend.
And, like, Palpatine has, like, a great public image, and Padme is still being like, I'm still gonna be critical of who's in power and the impact that their actions are having. And her friend is like, oh no, anything Dooku does is great, even though I have first-hand accounts of this guy being an evil scuzzbag. Yeah,
it's like, I don't disbelieve that, like, Dooku's managed to create this, image, but it's hard to have Mina go to Padme and be like, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on whether Dooku's a good person. And I'm like, you don't, though. If you were a better friend, you would just believe her when she told you that he was ready to execute her. Just because she wouldn't join the Separatists. She doesn't bring it up. She just goes like, well, I guess that's an old argument. I just have to let it go. But I'm like, you might have some more recent things to say.
Sorry, if someone tried to kill me, I would be so petty, and I would bring it up every single day.
All the time.
One of the things that is annoying about the Clone Wars is that sometimes they act like Attack of the Clones didn't happen. I'm like, it did happen though. That's why we have this show, is because it super happened. You guys forget that you did that? I know it was the least popular of your movies, but it did happen.
It happened. Yeah, so it's weird, like, and it doesn't make the Separatists look very good or very smart. They all just look like idiots who've been pawned into this. As opposed to, and so it doesn't make the argument that they have legitimate grievances hold any water. It's like, okay, but like, how much of your grievances are real and how much of them are just stupid? And even if you have real grievances, why should I believe that your government is going to handle these grievances any better than the Republic's would when your government are a bunch of pawns who don't even know what their own army is doing? Like, at least we see multiple people within the Republic. It ain't just Padme. Like, Padme is accompanied by at minimum Bail and potentially maybe Rio Chuchi at this point in, like, actively speaking out against the Republic. And we can't sit there and acknowledge, like, there are issues within the Republic. No one's gonna deny that. Like, we all believe it. It's just that, like, the Republic's pretty big and there's only a few of us willing to push back right now. And there's, the fact that the war is happening means that we're overruled. But it makes them seem smarter than the ones who are just being very absolutist about it, including Satine.
What's annoying? It's like that mindset that you'll see sometimes is like, oh, we should just burn everything down and start over. Like, that is so much work. So many people die. Like, that is such a bad idea. It is much, much, much easier to fix an existing system than it is to burn down the system and build a new one. I understand that it's not as satisfying. I get that. Which is why it's not what happens in the books and the stories, is like, we always just burn it down and start over again. I understand that that's more satisfying. It's not as effective. It's not as realistic. It's just, we're going to it's going to be faster. It's going to be easier. It's going to be it's going to be cheaper to just fix the system we have, to just put people in place and fix it and move on. Like, reform is so much easier than rebuilding. And to me, more interesting. I would love more stories that actually focus on the rebuilding after the apocalypse. Mostly because I'm really into, like, political fantasy right now, but that's beside the point. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, the Night Sisters. We've covered the Night Sisters extensively before, so I don't really want to go too into them, but understand that they are cherry-picked sexy witches, and that is annoying, and they decided to not do any further world building about that.
Yeah, so I think there's separate world building that happened for the Night Sisters. I think this is something where they just kind of went, this is a kind of cool concept, and pulled it out and did their own version of it. So there is a little bit of world building for the Night Sisters that has happened, especially with further information via things like, oh God, what am I thinking? Jedi Fallen Order,
Ahsoka.
where we get Marin and more indication. Sure, yes, we can pretend Ahsoka gave us more world building. That now
it did happen. There was stuff.
But it was shitty stuff.
Yeah.
It was shitty. It was all shitty stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, also Ahsoka. And
I
also a couple
haven't
of
got to
Tales
see
episodes.
a single Night Witch sister riding a Rancor. And until I see that, I'm not forgiving them anything. When am I going to see a hot, sexy lady riding a Rancor into battle? Because until I do, I'm not forgiving any of their Night Sister crimes.
I will say, I think one of the reasons we don't get things like that is because the structure of Clone Wars is fucked up. They
gave me Boba Fett on a Rancor. Why can't they give me a sexy Night Witch on a Rancor?
Because they hate you specifically.
Because they hate
This is also true.
specifically. They hate me.
Anyway,
Clone Wars is so episodic. So intensely episodic. And
God, it's like, so annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, things only happen within one episode or within the arc that it's in, and they exist in a vacuum. And there's just, like, no like you said, they keep forgetting that Attack of the Clones happened. This is why. Like, it's so episodic that it can't really remember anything that happened before, and it can't lead to anything happening prior, or happening afterwards. And so, shit just happens out of nowhere, and then there's no discussion of it again. Obi-Wan gets enslaved. Does that impact him? Theoretically. We never see any indication of it, though. Obi-Wan fakes his death, and that clearly upsets Anakin, and we never ever get to hear them talk about it again. We don't know what Ahsoka's reaction to it even was, because it's never addressed, and we never get to see them continue to talk about it. The Umbara arc is huge for characters like Rex and Fives, and we never ever get to hear them talk about it again. And it's just frustrating as all hell, because, like, it's not like you can't make fun shows that are super episodic, but a lot of super episodic shows, like, existed in the 60s. Like, the one episode, the one example that always comes to mind for me is the original Star Trek, where, obviously, yes, it's super episodic, and the exact same thing happens. There's really no character growth. Any of these characters across the 3 seasons that show had. You don't start getting it until you hit the films, and what character growth exists is effectively just, like, increased chemistry between the actors, and it's not written into the show itself. But there's a reason we don't do shows like that anymore, and it's because, like, where's the investment? You know, like, I don't understand. You know, you can't let the characters grow, you can't build narratives, you can't, like, build to anything or let anything have any weight or impact if everything exists in the vacuum. And that's, I think, part of the reason Clone Wars can't get very deep on anything, is because of that. All the problems we've been talking about with, like, Ahsoka being incapable of growth, Anakin being incapable of growth, Obi-Wan being wildly out of character for one arc and one arc only, just to make this parallel. You know, shit just happens out of nowhere, and then it disappears. And it's very frustrating.
It means that sometimes you'll get, like, a fun, like, box episode, right? Sometimes you'll get, like, a really good, like, fun concept that doesn't really need to be explored more, and, like, they just, you know, they can just throw it out there and have fun with it, and then, like, they don't really have to do anything else with it. And, like, sometimes, occasionally, that is fun. Like, I actually really enjoy the fact that the whole 3 gods, father, mother, daughter, whatever, never comes up again, because I liked it in the episode, but I didn't want it to have, like, a big impact because it was so out there, if that makes sense. But I liked that they, like, had fun with it.
Yeah, it allows you to do that, but it means that something, when they try to be more serious, like Umbara and Deception and Zygeria, you know, the Five Chip arc has weight only because technically we already knew that Order 66 happened, but, like, and so it's just banking on the weight that Order 66 already has, but, like, a lot of the bigger, more serious things that happen never have any weight. And it's like, I would happily give up the Mortis arc and the fun weirdness of some of the other box episodes to get a story that mattered.
Exactly. Like, that would be so much more fun. I understand. What I'm trying to say is that it's not 100% all bad. There are, like, some good things that come out of it, but those don't outweigh the negatives of not getting any character growth, of not getting any character arcs. And I understand this is written for children. You know what else is written for children? Avatar: The Last Airbender. Do you know what has amazing character growth? Avatar: The Last Airbender. Both written for children.
If you want to stay with Star Wars,
has great character growth.
Like, I think that the argument that something doesn't have to be good just because it's written for children is, like, extremely shitty, because children also deserve good things.
Yes.
Content.
Like, how are they supposed to develop, like, how are they supposed to develop their intake of media? How are they supposed to develop their standards for good shows if they're not getting good shows? If you're giving them horrible stuff that doesn't take them anywhere. Like, the reason that my mom didn't want me to watch SpongeBob is because it doesn't go anywhere, and, like, there aren't character arcs, and there's nothing for me to learn from. It's just brain rot stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that occasionally, but you still need both. And if you're writing Star Wars for children, you should also be giving them things to learn from, because Star Wars at its core is about teaching morals to children. I'm sorry, that is what the original story is about. Is, like,
which it's doing, but it's only doing in a vacuum, and it's trying to be both at once, right? Like, each one
I think the problem is that they're trying to be both.
I shouldn't turn on Star Wars for my nephew and be like, oh, you liked that? They're never going to talk about that ever again.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to do that. He loves shows. He loves that kind of stuff. But, like, if he can't get invested in stuff, then what is the point of him watching it?
And it doesn't have to be totally serialized either in order to have that. So I think, like, like your argument that it's got these little box episodes like Mortis, you can do that in like shows like Rebels. It's not like Rebels doesn't have random little asides that it goes to do. You know, like you could have done Mortis and still had a better written show that had actual, you know, well written arcs, especially because it essentially doesn't happen, right? That's kind of what happens is they go in there and it's just a little anomaly and they come back out and they're like, oh shit, Rex, we're back. It's been 3 days. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's been 30 seconds since the last time we spoke. You know, so like all of it seems to happen within their heads within the span of a couple of seconds anyway. So like the only impact it even has is on these 3 characters' psyches at best.
What's frustrating too is that like this show happened in television's heyday. Like there were so many amazing shows that were coming out at this time that at this time they had like 20 episodes, amazing character growth. They were still episodic, but they had like growth throughout the seasons. Those shows were coming out right now, like Bones, Supernatural, Psych. All of these shows were happening at the same time. So it's not like these writers didn't have the knowledge or capability to do this. They just decided not to.
Yeah, I think it's weird. It's frustrating because I think people like to talk about how great it is and how well written it is. And I'm just like, is it though? And that's not even getting into the weirdness of the first 2.5 seasons completely being out of order chronologically.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Like the first half of season 3, they're just like, let's do some random prequel and sequel episodes to like stuff that happened back in the last 2 seasons. And so it's like, if you want to watch it in chronological order, you have to go online and figure out what the order is for those first 2.5 seasons. And so there's no weight to anything because like some of this shit, you know, is completely out of order, and it's wild, you know, that this happens. And they clearly got their ass together by halfway through season 3, and then we started getting more into the arcs, and so then you get these longer arcs that are happening throughout the rest of the show, but like it's still, everything that's happening within those arcs is still completely within that vacuum. Like you mentioned, like you never see Dogma again. We have no idea what ever happens to Dogma. I'm still waiting. I'm never going to get the answer, but I'm still waiting to figure out what happened to Dogma. And it's
someday
weird.
You'll meet George Lucas and you'll be like, what happened to Dogma? And he'll be like, who?
He is going to say who. Baloney might
be like, who?
Remember who Dogma is, but I'm not going to want his answer.
If the name doesn't start with A and end with Ka, he does not know her.
Or Rex. I think he knows Rex and stuff like that.
That's true. He probably knows Rex.
But,
if you called
Dogma
Rex Ahsoka's
You would
boyfriend,
ask
he
him
would
about
remember.
Rex, and he would be like, I don't know, let me tell you about Ahsoka.
Anyways, what I would have done instead is, first of all, actually, one more thing about structure. Especially, they have this structure in the Clone Wars where they set it up like it's a newsreel, right? They have the guy at the beginning, like, being like, here's where we are. And, like, it's very much like 1940s newsreel situation where they're like, here's the stuff and here's the war story, right? And that's okay. I liked that. Actually, that's not true. I actually hated it a lot, but I understand the concept, and I think it's one of the more well-executed things about Clone Wars. I just personally find it very obnoxious. And that's okay, but then they don't actually use that to give you, like, good context, if that makes sense. They use it to make it exciting, but they don't use it to, like, actually keep stuff in order and, like, follow up on things. You know what I mean? Like, there are better uses for that thing than just be like, here's the planet we're on right now. Like, okay, you could have a title card for that. Like, that's fine. I understand children can't read, but still.
Well, okay, that's not true.
This isn't aimed at kids that young. Like, this is definitely aimed at, like, you know, the same age that regular Star Wars is. And
literacy in America
as
is
it's
dropping.
scrolling. That's okay. Well, we should encourage literacy, though,
That's true. That's a good
and
point.
not just get rid of it.
So what we would have done. What would we have done for characterization? First of all, make a fucking story Bible. Make a story Bible. Make a story.
A story Bible's good. But I think you have to start with the structure, honestly. Start with that. Like, agree that you're going to do an actual story. Or pick one, right? If you're just going to do a basic adventure story where everything is episodic, fine. But, like, don't pretend you're doing some sort of serious character growth dissection of what the galaxy is like at this point in time at the same time. You know, like, just do some sort of, you know, young Jedi kids going on adventure story, and each one is a new adventure. but like they seem to want to also believe that they're doing some sort of serious story about the Republic and, you know, really exploring these characters at the same time. You gotta pick one. You gotta pick one, and you gotta fucking stick with it. And I think if you're gonna do the war story, you do need a more serialized. If you're gonna do the war thing, it cannot be episodic. If they're gonna do an episodic thing, just go into some time period that doesn't have war. If you need a legacy character to hold it, Anakin's apprenticeship years and Obi-Wan's apprenticeship years are right there. You know, like, both of them would have been equally as easy to do and given you an easy, like, peaceful time to just do basic Jedi adventure bullshit. And a legacy character as a child, you know, audience insert character. But if you're gonna do the war, I'm like, it needed to be a serialized story. It needed to be closer to Rebels, which is still a kid's show. But at least it gives more avenues to build the characters and build the world around them in such a way that it feels like it has weight and meaning.
Like, what you have to do is you have to have, like, okay, we're going to do some episodes about some fun things, but we're also going to have, like, character growth throughout the season. So, okay, this is where we want the characters to be at the beginning of the season, so we need to be at the end of the season. And here's the ideas we have for stories. How can these stories help these characters get from point A to point B? You have to do that every single season. And it's okay if you want to do some, like, fun things, some box episodes, whatever. But you still have to, like, keep in mind the trajectory these characters are on and then write them consistently on that trajectory. You can do an episodic thing and do that at the same time. You can do it. It is just more difficult. And I understand that it's more difficult, but you're the writers getting paid for this. And yes, Disney should pay you more. But that doesn't mean that you should be bad at your jobs.
I think you can be episodic, but not this episodic. Like,
yes.
Like this level of episodic, where it's like 100% no nuance, fully episodic, you know, there's no character growth happening. And that's just an aspect of how that structure works. But you can have something more similar to, as I believe Nat has put in some of her notes, Monster of the Week, which is not dissimilar to something like, say, Leverage, where, and even Rebels has some of this in earlier seasons, where you get, like, each new episode you've got a new adventure or a new problem that you are dealing with. But what this allows for is closer character dissection, right? Because the adventure itself is not, like, the plot is not something you have to, like, keep track of across multiple episodes, which means the characters can be your plot. And I think that could have been great, you know, in terms of character stuff, right? Like, if this is supposed to be, how does Anakin become more mature? You know, the story. Then great, like, let him have something that, like, really looks at that. But I think making it so episodic takes away any ability to really do that.
Like, you could have Anakin in the first season just have some, like, crappy puns, just some really terrible puns. And just, like, he's trying to drop one-liners, and Ahsoka keeps looking at him like he's an idiot because they're really bad. And then season 2, you could start giving him some good one-liners. And, like, some ones that actually land. Maybe the finale of season 1 includes him also getting a good one-liner in there, you know, just to spice it up. And then, you know, he starts getting... This is just, like, a tiny little thing that they could have done to make his character growth consistent. And then by season 3 or 4, great. Consistent one-liners. He's growing. He's good. On one-liners and wittiness, he has developed. He's filled out that skill tree. Good to go. We're going to work on other stuff now. Like, easy peasy.
Except he never works on anything else.
Well, yeah, they can work on something else.
Anakin,
I think
though, canonically.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like, you can develop something else like that. You can be like, okay, so, like, the first season, he's reckless. We're going to keep him being reckless, but he's going to start, like, the first season, he's reacting with fear to a lot of things. He's reacting fear first. And then by, like, season 3, season 4, he's reacting angrily first. He's no longer reacting with fear. He's reacting with anger, you know? Like, you can still have, like, the devolution of his character into, like, an unstable young man in Revenge of the Sith who, like, is on a nice edge. Like, he is strung out. Like, the war has been long and he is tired and he is no longer, like, capable of processing anything healthily. You can do that and you should have an actual arc. And you should, because it's great. Yeah. And you can do that and have actual arcs and show him, like, being kind one episode and the next episode in, like, a similar situation, like, it just pushes a button in him and he's, like, obnoxious about it, like, snaps. And, like, you can show him being unstable like that and still keep his character consistent throughout the episodes without it being weird. You know what I mean? Like, those are totally things that you can do that they just, like, didn't want to spend the time on doing it. They wanted to do their cool ideas and have the characters be there for the cool ideas and not, like, have these cool ideas develop the characters, which is really frustrating.
Yeah, it does feel like you have a combination of, like, George Lucas wanting to do a Flash Gordon thing and Filoni wanting to do a more modern style of TV show, and the two of them are not married well.
No.
And, like, my personal taste runs more towards a more modern style show where you actually develop characters more. But I'm not against the possibility that you could do a good show that is more Flash Gordon-y style, the way Lucas.
No, that's totally fine. I love, like, what was that old show? Oh, fuck, it's gonna leave me. The one with the horse. Then Johnny Depp did a really racist movie about it.
Oh, Lone Ranger.
Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger show. Very similar. Characters show up. Episodic. No character growth. Fine. Okay. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like Star Trek, the original series, same thing.
They don't act like he's going to have character growth, though. And the Clone Wars loves to pretend like they're getting character growth.
The thing about the Clone Wars is that because of where you've put it in the narrative, these characters do have to grow and have to change.
There is an end point where they are different.
They are different. The thing with Anakin is, like, you have to make him get worse. And it has to be, like, throughout time. It doesn't make sense to have him be super fun action hero and then fucking explode and beat the shit out of Clovis, and Padme's like, I'm gonna leave you, and then the next thing, and then they're fine. And there are no consequences to that. Like, that needs to be... There is a story there that is hinted at in the movies. You can't just, like, if you're gonna tell the story in that period of time, you have to tell the story of these characters. Or not have them in the show. And just talk about the clones and their relationship to other Jedis. I would fucking love that. Every time a different Jedi showed up, I was like, this is great. Plo Koon is here. I want to see him do cool shit. And then they're like, and now Obi-Wan and Anakin are here. And I'm like, okay, but I see them do a lot of cool shit already. I want to see more Jedi do more cool shit because there's, like, an order of them. And they already got me with the third movie, you know? Like, when Order 66 happens, I care about the Jedi dying.
Right.
Even though I don't know those people. You could make me know them and make me know the clones that are killing them, and that hits so much harder. Like, the opportunity is right there. Just take it. Just take it. You could do that for free. Like, do they know they could do that for free?
They can get paid to do it, actually.
They could get paid to do that.
You have to spend money first, then they get paid.
No, it doesn't make any sense for Padme to say that she's going to leave Anakin. I think she would never even cross her mind to leave Anakin. I think she should have been like, Anakin, no, this isn't who you are. Anakin, baby,
That's
please.
Exactly what she does in the movie. So, like, by the end of that movie, when she's like, I don't know who you are anymore, like, I'm scared, that's clearly the first time that this has happened in their relationship. So it's fine to, like, hint at that, but you need Padme to be denying that the entire time.
To the end of her fucking life, she's like, there's still good in him. At no point does she even consider the possibility of leaving him. Like, even when she's like, you're breaking my heart, she's still like,
she says, I can't, this is a path I can't follow. But
that's the very end.
Yeah, towards the end.
And even then, she's not like, I'm going to leave you for this. She's like, you're going down a path I can't follow. Not that you can't come back. She's like, come back to me. She's not like, I want to break up with you. She's like, come back to me. We can still fix this. The baby girl, this is not who you are. That's literally her whole character arc with him all the time. Her being like, I'm going to break up with you is crazy. That's crazy. That's the most out of character thing she does in the whole fucking show. Like, 100%.
So I'm going to throw out that arc. I'm going to put Satine in the trash. How else can I fix this? I'm going to do more clone stuff. Me? Who?
Can we just get rid of Maul?
We can put Maul in the trash. We'll put... Yes, they can have a lovely time there together. We'll just have a different guy that looks like Maul because he's a cool character design.
Yeah. And we'll name him something else.
I'm going to make Palpatine less suspicious, I think. Because the Jedi should really be super suspicious of him all the time.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think the Jedi are super suspicious of him all the time.
Yeah,
they aren't going full on,
kinda...
like, he's a Sith. They're like, this is a corrupt politician. Like, we've seen a lot of corrupt politicians. But we're also at war, and eliminating the leader of the Republic in the middle of a galactic civil war is not the way to do this.
I think they should have a conversation like that, though.
I want them in the Jedi Council to be like, this is a little weird, huh? Okay, and now here's this other really pressing thing that we have to deal with. Because when you don't do that, it just makes them look a little bit stupid, and the Jedi aren't stupid.
In the Deception arc, when they're like, they cut into the council to like talk about like, oh, what they're gonna do, blah blah blah. I think they should have cut into. This is super easy. They should cut in to be like, okay, here's the current state of affairs with Palpatine. He's grabbing more power. Obviously, we can't do anything about this right now, but we should start thinking about like what we're gonna have to do if like this situation keeps escalating. Anyways, more pressing issues. Let's move on to this topic about Obi-Wan having to pretend to be dead. You know, like, just slide a couple things in here now and then of, like, these are things that are on their mind, that are going on, that we are suspicious of this guy. We don't have time. This is just a corrupt politician. We've seen those a million times before. We can deal with him later. Like,
yeah.
Just put it in there. Please just stop making the Jedi stupid. They're not stupid.
Yeah.
I think the one thing where you see them kind of addressing this is, not addressing it, but is in the, and Nat, I'm not sure you've seen this one, but it's the one where Cad Bane steals the holocron with the list of Force-sensitive kids. And there's a point in there where they're going off to go get Cad Bane, and it's like Mace and Obi-Wan and Anakin. And Anakin's like, wait, hang on, before we run off, shouldn't we be, like, reporting to Palpatine? Like, isn't that our job as people in the military? And Mace and Obi-Wan are like, no. Like, it's internal Jedi business. Why the fuck would we do this? And he's like, we literally hold a commission. Like, it is our job to report to Palpatine. They're like, fine, you go report to Palpatine. We'll go get Cad Bane in the holocron then. Bye. And just straight up leave him behind because, like, Anakin will not let this go. And they're like, we don't wanna, though. And it's dumb. Yeah. there clearly is, like, no love lost here between them and Palpatine. You know, and I think that this is one of those places where, again, like, the episodic structure means they can't really address stuff like this very well, because that would be looking ahead too much and acknowledging that shit's gonna happen too much.
He has a similar moment in the, like, Heroes on Both Sides where I think Padme is criticizing Palpatine. And he is, like, really aggressively, like, standing up for him. And I feel like you could have... That's so interesting.
Yeah, they have
that
more
you're
of
showing that Anakin is actively being groomed. Like, give me more of that.
The episode in Revenge of the Sith where they have, like, Anakin and Palpatine talking and walking at the same time, and the way that they're walking is exactly the same as in Return of the Jedi when Palpatine and Vader are walking on the Death Star. Is such a good like echo of those two scenes. I love that scene. It's so well crafted. Ugh, it's gorgeous. They're just Hayden Christensen's really good at like having a really similar to walk as Vader. He's very talented. I love him.
Yeah, even I think in his earlier stuff as Anakin, I think he clearly seemed to understand that there needed to be an element of childish playfulness and an element of dangerous darkness. I don't know that the writing helped him a lot, but I think he as an actor is picking up on, like, these need to be two sides of Anakin that do come across. I think it's just hard to understand sometimes why everyone else likes him. You know, sometimes.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about his acting specifically is the way that he makes his inflections sound the way that Vader inflects them, and they sound different as his regular voice, right? Because he's not speaking through, like, you know, ha ha ha. But that was my impression of Vader's breathing.
Was it?
So it sounds different.
Sorry, how does it sound?
So it sounds different, but like the way that he speaks, you can see like the reflections of Vader's speech in Anakin's speech as he's young, and I really enjoy that through line that he put in there because I don't think the writing did that. I think he did that, and I really really like that. That was a really nice touch for him to put in there.
Yeah, I think there are elements of both Vader and Jake Lloyd in his performance. I just don't know that his performance made me believe that Padme would fall in love with him and marry him. And
the writing is so bad.
Yeah, I think that is more of an issue with the writing and the editing and the directing than it is Hayden's performance. Yeah. But it is interesting going, I'm like, who would marry this guy. Like, you're getting across whiny teenager really, really well, but the problem is I don't understand who would marry the whiny teenager.
I personally know a lovely, beautiful, talented woman who is very smart, very gorgeous. Not Grace Elvis name.
With atrocious taste in men?
Who married this man for, her words, for his potential. This man does not watch their child, loses his job all of the time, lost them a lot of money, and has continued to get her pregnant. She's now on their third pregnancy, I believe, and continues to... She works from home, and he has to watch their toddler at the same time because he refuses to do it because he's busy gaming. So, beautiful, talented women who are exceptional can have horrible, horrible, horrible taste in men. That is not the most unrealistic thing about Padme's character. That's actually one of the more realistic aspects. She's like, I can fix him, but they should make it more intentional.
Yeah, I think that needs to be more intentional.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, that's, like, a thing that can happen in real life, so I'm fine with that, but they don't showcase it like she's making a bad decision here. They don't showcase it like she's, like, marrying him for his potential. They act like she genuinely likes him.
I'm willing to bet that this woman that you know probably does have more backstory and history and nuance to why she decided to marry this man and is staying with him that just isn't apparent on a first glance. So, like, yeah, sure, intelligent women end up with fuck-ass men all the time, but, like, those women are not 2D caricatures. They are people who have histories that have led them to making the choices they're making. And I don't think that what we are shown of Padme allows us to understand why she's one of them. And that's
you can, like, come up with reasons, but they're not there on the screen.
Of course, you can. I mean, you can explain Padme any way you want. She's a blank slate, almost, to put whatever the fuck you want onto her. But I think she ends up a little contradictory and confusing in execution. Yeah. And I don't think that Clone Wars helped that.
What would you do with Padme in Clone Wars?
How would you fix Padme in Clone Wars, Sugar?
I'd make her more political. I think, like, that's the one thing that always frustrates me about Padme is we really rarely get to see her doing real politics. Even the few political storylines she gets tend to devolve into action Barbie stuff. And I'm like, I get it. It's like, it's a thing for kids, and so focusing on the politics feels a little silly. But, you know, just like, if I'm writing it for me, I think I'd like to have seen Padme actually doing more political stuff and understanding why she is considered such a good politician. I think you could have led into the Delegation of 2000 stuff if you'd really wanted to. And, you know, and I think, like, even just exploring more of her relationship with Anakin beyond the few little minimal things that we get. Just, like, what is it that she likes about him? Why is this something that she keeps coming back to? I think you could have explored her more there. Introducing her family, since they got cut out of Attack of the Clones, you could have done that. You know, bring them back in, just to give her a little bit more backstory.
You could have, like, you know, some little scenes of, like, Anakin playing with her, like, cousins or something, and her being like, oh, that's so sweet, that's so nice, I want to make a baby with you. Whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, exactly. Like, just, like, where is her character? Like, she just kind of is this caricature in Clone Wars, and I think so many of them are, and it's just really sad that, like, a lot of the characters have landed more caricature.
Mm-hmm. They're like pinup models of themselves.
Yeah, sometimes. All right.
Would you guys like a goat fact to finish this out, or is there anything else we'd like to say?
Is there anything you want to say about how you would have done it better?
I think I've covered all of my things. Give them arcs. Yeah, I
like
laid out very
just
specifically.
Yeah, long running, not arcs like they actually have, but like normal arcs.
Give them seasonal arcs. Seasonal growth. Make them perennials.
Seasonal at minimum.
Yeah. I think watching... I know I jumped around a lot in the stuff that I watched, but it did...
It doesn't matter. This is a show where it really don't matter.
That's true, but it did give me the vibe that they kind of started making this show and didn't really know where they were going with it. And that is not my favorite thing, but it is my least favorite thing that TV shows can do.
Especially when they have a defined point where they are going.
An end point that your characters need to end up at. And I think that having just, like, any amount of intention in what you're doing.
Having a plan. It's helpful, as J.J. Abrams has recently found out.
Maybe they wouldn't have, like, had, like, a weird cancellation in the middle of season 6 if they had had, like, a plan to, like, do, hey, this long for this bit, this long for this bit. This is our intentional plan to end here. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Like, maybe if they were like Andor and they were like, we're only going to make 2 seasons and we know what we're going to do.
To be fair, that's not quite what happened to Andor, but also the cancellation in season 6 was also the Disney buyout.
No, yeah, I know, but like, it wouldn't have been so abrupt if they'd actually had a plan to finish it already.
That's not
because then we have
maybe.
season 7, which is just like compacted, rushed. Like here's
weirdness. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's weird.
I would love a
Clone
goat
Wars is
fact.
weird. I think it's overrated, and I do think we need a goat fact to just make us feel better about life.
Okay. Here is a beautiful goat fact. Goats can be taught their name, and they will come when called. Isn't that so sweet?
Aww,
That's adorable.
I love that.
They can learn and grow.
They can learn and grow. And have a specific name that they respond to every time, instead of just like any name that you need in that moment. Ahsoka.
I love the way that you find ways to make the goat facts somehow connect.
Yeah.
I'm always like, okay, I'm not sure what the connection is, and then you say it, and I'm like, there it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit of a stretch, but I have long arms. It's fine.
Our intro and outro music is Mos Eisley Cantina by Speedkicks. Angela and I edit, our artwork is by me, and Sugar is our writer and researcher. You can find us on Instagram and Tumblr at Unleash the Goats. Thanks for listening.